and welcome to this week's deep dive. Hi Pam, how are you? This is with myself, Sian Horn. I forgot to introduce myself properly, and the amazing
Pamela Walsh.
Amazing. Now, how was your week, Pam? What did you get up to?
My week was good. I was in Limerick looking at a new office pod for my back garden. I am moving out of my house into my back garden to have an established structure. My husband works from home as well, and I think for the safety of our marriage, one of us needs to get out of the house.
They're such a great idea though, aren't they? And where were you going
brilliant.
to look for them? Because I definitely need one.
I've done a bit of research, and the one, because just where I wanted, how I wanted to look in my back garden, there's a place in Limerick called Garden House 24, and I know a couple of people who've gotten them from there. They're very reasonable as well. It's like one of the best deals that I've found. I know Hanley's have a showroom in Cork for Log House, because there's a log house down where I'm living as well. And they're nice as well. It's a lot more expensive. So the Garden House 24 one that I'm looking at, basically they'll build it in 2 days, they'll do the electrics, the foundations, everything, and then they're gone.
Amazing.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to try and get it at the end of the summer. So we're just kind of, having to have a look at the garden now and plot things out, because I'm in an office in my own bedroom. My husband's in the spare room, so we're converting our box room into a little office for him and moving my little girl into the spare room, and then I'm getting out of my bedroom, because I literally now spend probably 20 hours a day in my bedroom, because I sleep here, I work here.
I actually thought that, because I worked from Republic of Work yesterday. I know we spoke about this last week, and I think it's really important to get out. And actually, I walked down the stairs this morning. I'm back to back. My next door neighbour's having some work done, so I've had to squeeze all of my Zooms and recordings into today. And I actually walked down the stairs and thought, oh my God, I'm actually not going to leave this house for 24 hours.
Yeah, it's really important to I always find getting out for a walk on days like this where I'm at home all the time, it's so important. But I was in Republic of Work as well on Thursday. We met each other. But I do feel a bit more kind of rejuvenated after I've gotten out. Like, I can't do it every day because I have to commute, and it's like a 40-minute drive. But like, I could do it once a week, I think.
Yeah, I do once a week. I'm back in there on Friday, actually. I was there yesterday. I'm back in there on Friday because of the work here. But yeah, I need it at least once a week. I find I'm really productive. I tend to meet my VAs there. I've a few VAs that I work with, and I've got a couple of girls from Cork. So I meet them and work with them for half day. And so we get loads done, actually. It's a really good idea to do.
Yeah, if there was one locally, like close to Fermoy, I think I would definitely go once a week.
Yeah, and I think there is one in Fermoy.
I need to check that out more, because it's and if there's not, and I think if I want one, I'm sure other people want one as well. So I'm definitely going to start looking into it, because I just think I love working from home. I love being flexible and remote, but I'm like an ambivert. I get energy from people, but then I also need to be on my own a bit as well. So it's something I need to start looking into more, because I can't be in my bedroom for 20 hours a day. It's not good for my mental health.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Okay, let's do this. With rules 23, 24, and rule 23 is do not be an ostrich.
I'll read the synopsis and we can start shouting about it. Avoiding uncomfortable realities and difficult conversations is unhelpful. In business and in our personal relationships, we must recognize what isn't right, assess what we can do about it, share our findings, and get to the truth, however challenging that might be. If you want long-term success in business, relationships, and life, you have to get better at accepting uncomfortable truths as fast as possible. When you refuse to accept an uncomfortable truth, you're choosing to accept an uncomfortable future.
I couldn't agree more. I wish everybody would just say what's in their mind and just throw it out their gob. At least everybody would know where they stand. Yeah. I can't stand people that go, no, it's okay, it's okay. And in their guts of guts, they're going, this is not okay. I just don't want to say. But I also think this is a huge thing about putting yourself in other people's shoes. And most of my clients, when I'm, if there's conflicts, because I mediate a lot, say with partnerships, and I always ask them to put themselves in the other person's shoes and then tell me what the situation is. And then they start really realizing, because they're acknowledging and they're reviewing the situation, they start to realize that there is, another avenue for them. So like, I'm not an ostrich. I don't really believe in it. Sort of, I think meet things head on, and move on is my motto.
No, I agree. And because I think well, in those situations, there's your truth, there's their truth, and then there's the real truth in the middle. But in the chapter, he kind of goes into like the biggest issues come from not decisions that are made, but decisions that aren't made, and things that you're avoiding. Because I know myself, like I've been guilty of it, like especially starting out in business, like when I've blurred boundaries and not spoken up, and kind of when I've just swallowed something and went, look, it's fine, I'll just get over it. And I don't like establish a boundary and kind of push back on somebody, I end up resenting that person. That's more comfortable for me long term, and a more difficult situation to pick through. But if I just had that awkward, difficult conversation at the start, everybody would have been happier, and I'm learning that as well as I go, because it's much easier to avoid things, but it's so much better and clean cut long term when you just say what you mean. Like,
it really is. And the thing is, it might feel awkward to you because you might be a people pleaser or it's part of your personality, but it's actually more awkward if you let it lie.
Mm-hmm.
And it enables you to do things the right way.
It does, yeah.
The amount of people, I think I was speaking the other week, I've had real problems with staffing recently, and it's just actually people not telling lies, not saying just what they need or what they want or what they think.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just not good enough, it really isn't. So, but that's people putting their head in the sand. Oh, well, do you know what? I'll tell them somebody's dying, and then that will let me off the hook. Well, no, just say like it doesn't work for you. Just say that, just don't be an ostrich. Just speak your truth, but speak it with kindness.
Exactly. Yeah, I have that written down here as well. It's like, because I have a certain number of people that I go to that I know aren't I have yes people, and we all have yes people, and they're hype women, and we need them as well. But I never go to them when I want constructive truth, because I know they'll just tell me I'm amazing and every idea I have is amazing. Like, and I've never been a yes person in any business I've ever worked for. I've always said my pure and honest opinion, but you can do that in a kind way, because I think that there are like people out there that are just dickheads to be dickheads, but like be honest with people, because I think you're doing people no favors by bigging them up either, when they really need to know the truth. And constructive criticism is so important. I think as a business owner, the worst thing you can do is surround yourself with yes people that don't give you constructive feedback.
Yeah, and if you surround yourself with people that are just like you, then it's never constructive, because you need those different outlooks on life, even in friendships in life. That speaking the truth and seeking the truth piece is super, super important. Like people call me straight talking. They use those words to me. I have honesty Tourette's. I can't help myself. If I think it pops out my gob. I can't change that. However, I'm very conscious of how I say it. And if it's not constructive, then I can hold my tongue, because there's no point in speaking a truth that isn't a constructive truth, because nothing changes. And the only reason you want to tell people the truth is for the situation, the business, or themselves to improve. It's like there's nothing worse than someone saying to you, oh, no, that won't work. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, that won't work. So what will work? Oh, I don't know what will work, but that won't work.
No, I know. It's like, come with solutions. And because my husband's always like, But like, I don't know what to say, because if I'm like, does this look okay on me? He's like, but if I tell you no, you'll get cross with me. I'm like, if I've left the house already and I ask you, you have to lie and tell me I look amazing. But if I have another option,
Yes.
tell me the truth.
Yeah. No, seek the truth.
Because I've gotten feedback from people, like just different workshops and different projects I've worked on before, that I'm very candid. That was the feedback I've gotten. I'm very candid. I think that's a nice flowery way of saying that I'm straight to the point and there's no bullshit about me either. Like,
my problem is my face tells 1,000 stories. And so, like I used to work for a big company, actually, and we had a huge management team. And so at the managers meeting once, my boss would be like, can you just control your face? So I used to look at the ceiling instead so that no one could see me going.
I'm very guilty of that as well. I have to kind of like not look directly at people, because I'm sitting there controlling my face and I'm not listening anymore. Yes. Because I'm trying to not.
I'm concentrating so hard on controlling my face. But I think if you take those 4 steps that he speaks about, and that is the pause, and the acknowledgement of the situation. So I don't know, let's take something random. I don't know, you've missed your mortgage payment. Lots of people go, just hide, lock the door, don't worry about it, it's a recession, whatever. But actually acknowledge that that's done, review it, have a think about how we can actually sort out the problem. Let's see how bad the problem is.
And in the review as well, it's acknowledging your agency and your part in the problem, because we all play a part in every problem. You know what I mean? We do, like.
Absolutely. But then, and then you need to get on the phone and speak the truth with somebody. You need to tell them exactly what's happening. And actually, even if you think about that situation, which is a minor situation, but a situation, not a minor situation, but a human situation, I suppose. That's why, June 2020, 2021, the banks were ringing everybody because people were going, what do you do? We've never come across this before. I'll just put my head in the sand. So the companies were proactive on seeking the truth from people and then doing their best to help them with it. But you can't solve a problem if you don't know what the problem is, how you got there, and how you get out of it. So, yeah, I mean, I like it. I'm not one to put my head in the sand. Unless I've got to get an essay in.
I'm like, if it's an application form to be filled out, I'm buried in the sand.
Yeah, then it's.
But no, I agree. I think, and I'm always like very. I love being around people that are forthright, and I always know where I stand with them. Like, I love being around people like that, where there's no bullshit. If they're pissed off at me, they're going to tell me, and then we can have a conversation about it and move on from it. I actively avoid people that I just can't get a read off them and I don't know what they're thinking. And I think a lot of people do. They just kind of tell you what they think you want to hear. And I think that's not helpful to anybody. I'd much rather be around straight talking people who I know what they're thinking. I know where I stand with them.
Yeah, no, me too. Absolutely. So next, number 24 is
pressure. Okay, so I have a little think about this one now, because
it's hard.
From somebody late diagnosed with ADHD, I have spent the majority of my life in fight or flight and feeling like a lot of stress for lots of different situations, because the way my brain works and trying to fit it into neurotypical ways of being. So, but I've read this, and I think the way he says it and the way I would like to explain it as well, I think there is a difference. So what the chapter is Law 24, you must make pressure your privilege. Pressure doesn't have to be a negative thing, and if framed correctly, it can be energizing. Recognizing, owning, and using pressure can be a powerful tool when it comes to achieving aims in business and life. Comfortable and easy are short-term friends, but long-term enemies. If you're looking for growth, choose the challenge. And for me, I've spent the last 4 years trying to get my body out of fight or flight and reduce my cortisol flowing through my veins, because I get there very easily just because of how my brain works. I overthink, I overanalyze. Parts of that make me really bloody good at what I do. But it's not great when I'm lying down in bed at night and trying to get to sleep and just dealing with normal things on a day-to-day basis.
So the question is, have you been tested for stress?
I think there's a difference between stress and pressure.
Yeah. I'm going to ask the question, have you been tested by the doctor? Because I have.
Okay,
have you been
no.
tested for stress? Okay. So then my next question is, if you've never been tested for stress, is that stress or pressure? Because that's what he's getting to in here. Do we actually know the difference? And what he's saying is, you know, we talk a lot now about anxiety and stress and everything else, but actually no one uses the word pressure anymore.
No, it's all stress now and burnout.
Yes.
They're the words we're used. But I agree with, we're a comfort seeking society now. And I don't think that's good for us either, because I think people are trying to making their lives smaller and smaller because they interact with something and it gives them stress. So then they pull away and they won't do that anymore. But that's not the way humans respond really well to stress, high stress, spikes in stress,
but I don't
not
think
chronic stress.
I don't know if they do. I think they respond well to pressure, but pressure, people don't know the difference between pressure and stress. So for instance, we work quite similar, me and you, like, you know, that expression, if you want something done, give it to a busy person. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Those people aren't stressed. They are natural problem solvers, organizers, and work well under pressure. However, I know that most of the people that I work with would see that as stress. Well, I've been tested for stress several times, and I don't come up as being a stressed person.
Okay.
I always blame my tummy on cortisone because that comes from stress, and that's where I hold all of my weight in my body. I hold it nowhere else. But when I'm tested, I do very well under stress testing. But that could be as well because I deal very well with pressure. Does this make sense? Because the feeling is so similar. It's like anxiety and excitement. Very similar feelings.
So you have same feelings in your body, definitely same feelings in your body. But what I think it is for me, pressure comes from deadlines, a lot of work, but to do with something that you're typically enjoying, that you don't hate, you feel like you have agency over and autonomy in. Stress to me is that chronic, underlying, constant levels of pressure that you feel claustrophobic and trapped in, that you have no autonomy over. For me, that's stress. And the thing is as well about ADHD brains is ADHD brains work really, really well in a crisis. If something is going on, the world is ending, I'm the person you want near you, because I'm like that. I can hyper focus so well that I will fix everything in the situation. And I'm in any job I've ever been in, when things go to shit and something happens, I get called in and I fix it, and I work really well in those situations. It's the chronic low level stress of normal everyday life, paying the mortgage, the baby didn't sleep last night, that lack of sleep. It's that stuff to me, I think, is chronic stress that builds up over time. And I think that peaks your cortisol levels, because humans, our bodies are built with adrenaline and cortisol for that to, if a lion is coming after us, for that to spike, to keep us safe and to get us out of it again. But we're reacting to emails that way now. Back in the day, it was a lion coming, get your boost of adrenaline and cortisol to keep you alive. Now we're getting those spikes because somebody emailed us, and that's the chronic stress that I think is killing people nowadays, and people don't know how to deal with.
Okay, so then you've got the placebo effect that he talks about. So they did this test and basically asked people about stress. They were all under stress, pressure, etc. People that thought that was detrimental to their livelihood, to their health, etc., had a 48% higher risk chance of dying. And I completely get this because like so I work with people's spines as a Pilates instructor, and I know of a placebo test that they did where they told everybody they had bulging discs. Yeah. Those that they told that they needed pain relief. So they gave them pain relief. They felt better. However, they didn't have anything wrong with their spines. But the way they reacted, because they were told this and the negativity the effect it would have in their body, they actually reacted like they did have that going on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I always agree with placebo. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, and this is what I'm saying, like we only use the word stress and pressure in a negative sentence the majority to the time. And the fact of the matter is, actually, I work at my best under pressure. So how negative is it? For me, it's not negative. It works really well for me. Put me into a pressure situation, and actually, you've just described that you work really well in that environment.
Without a doubt, I do. Yeah.
But we only use it in a negative form.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what we really have to think about when we think about pressure v stress. Is it always negative? For me, it isn't. Stress isn't even always negative. Our body needs a certain amount of stress, otherwise it doesn't survive because it needs to recognize it.
Yeah.
So I think the terminology and how we use it in language is really, really important. It's a bit like mindset. We talk about mental health all the time, but we don't talk about mental strength.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think we need stress. And because I remember when I broke my elbow, my physio, and I love my physio, he's like, he's real all about active recovery. I remember when I was pregnant and I could barely walk because my pelvis separated. He was like, Pamela, the worst thing you can do is lay down. He's like, if you don't walk every single day, you're going to get worse. So he's be like hobbling along like a little old lady. But stress makes you grow. It does. 100% does. Pressure not stress. Pressure will make you grow because it pushes you out of your comfort zones. And you will feel pressure when you're coming out of your comfort zone. But I do think now as a society, we are living in this constant state of stress and pressure. So I think we need high pressure situations to help us to grow and develop.
Do you honestly think, though, that that's different to 30 years ago?
I think, no, I know what you mean, because it's just.
But now sorry, and I'm going to say fucking, but we just fucking moan all the time. And I hate using, I don't like saying, I always sound like an old whining old woman when I talk like this. However, we have always been under pressure and always been under stress but we were just told to get over it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether that's right or wrong is a whole different conversation. However, it gave us the resilience and the strength that we needed to move on. I interviewed actually my nieces yesterday for another pod, and they're 3, 9, 5, 11 and 13, 14. And it was so interesting to get their reactions on words that we use and what is important to them and what isn't important to them. Because, we have to stop some of the language that we're using. Resilience is a really good thing. Without it, you can't survive. Without a bit of pressure, you can't survive. But we need to put our children under a little bit of pressure. We need to make them survive. We need to set them up so that they can survive when we're not around. And I just feel that, we're failing a little. Now, listen, you can all come back at me. I know I don't have kids, not through want of trying, but I still take my responsibilities as an auntie very, very seriously. And if that's all I instill in my nieces and nephews is to get out there, do some shit, put yourself under pressure, put yourself out the comfort zone on certain times. In fact, my nieces told me to do that yesterday. It was brilliant. Then we're failing them. You don't want to have a 30-year-old in your house not knowing how to live.
I know. I agree with that, because I struggle with that even with my daughter, because it's like Obviously, she's my one and only. I want to wrap her in a bubble. I want to give her a better life than I had. I don't want to expose her to the things that I had to go through growing up. But I also want to build her into a resilient, well-able, tough little girl. And you can only do that by pushing her comfort zones as well. So it is something that I'm struggling with at the moment, of how to make her feel like she can be herself and be loved and cherished for that, but also push her out of her comfort zones and make her uncomfortable every so often, and get her to learn how to deal and cope with that in a safe environment, because you can't baby them. And like, so much so, she's 4.5, and as of about 3 weeks ago, she decides she wants to go playing on her own now. So she's out in the estate and she's on her own. And I'm genuinely, if I could microchip her, I would. So I know where she is. Now, the rules are she needs to be able to see the house at all times. And I'm clung to the window watching her, because I am a natural helicopter parent, but I'm really, for her sake, trying to not be, and give her that bit of leash on her own, so she can go out there and she can get into the politics of what it's like playing with other kids without her mom around, but
that's a little bit of pressure, because the first time that she does that, she will feel a bit of pressure, because she has to make friends, etc. Do you know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying, that wasn't stressful to her. It's pressure without a doubt.
No, it's stressful to me.
Yes, no, absolutely. So you just need to get over that. But maybe an Apple Tab will do it.
I swear that I'm looking at.
Listen, I have no problem with that shit. I'd be tabbing my child. They'd be stitched into their collars of their jackets.
I am honestly considering doing that, like stitching an Apple Tag into a couple of her coats, so that at least, because she doesn't have a phone. It's fine when you give them phones, but she's too small for that, obviously. But I need to track her. My husband's and I was the same. I was like a latchkey kid in the 80s, sent out, gone all day, come back when it's dark and be fed. But it's different. I don't know, is it different times nowadays, or are we just more aware of how unsafe things can be?
I actually went to see Jason Byrne, the comedian, on Saturday night, and he was saying, because he's got a couple of kids, and he was like, things aren't different now. The different was that we used to be able to scream at the weirdo in the street. It would be like, oh, don't go near that man that lives at 22 because he'll pull you in his front door. They were like, the weirdness in the world hasn't suddenly arrived. It's just how we deal with it, and we have to be very careful in this world. As in, when I was growing up, though, you knew exactly who they were. They were hanging around the playground, and you'd all be shouting at them, going, sod off. As 7-year-olds, we'd be defending ourselves. So, I don't think the world has changed dramatically. Unfortunately, though, there's other ways for them to get to people now. And obviously, that's the world of social media and internet, etc. But if we do if we don't put people under pressure, if we don't let them feel the difference between pressure and comfortableness and stress, they will never know. And then it will just always be a negative thing to feel uncomfortable. Then we'll have no resilience, and they won't know what to do with themselves. So I think pressure and a little bit of stress is not a bad thing. And we've got to stop speaking about it in such a negative way.
I know, I agree. Because growing up as well, my dad always said, and when I'm having a hard time or whatever, I'll always think about it, always said, Pamela, life will kick your ass. That's what life is. It will just kick your ass, and you just need to pick yourself up and get on with it again. And that's an insight into how I was raised. But it does, though, and it does. And it's like, and I get overwhelmed every so often, and it's not even that I don't want stress and pressure. It's just I get to points of, it's like, oh, when is enough? Just give me a break for a while, because sometimes it can feel like one shitstorm after another. And I think, and to me, then that's just the chronic, there's no in-betweens. And Jesus, we've just come out of a bloody pandemic. I think we're not, nobody's talking about what that has done to us as a society. I can see with friends and family and different people around me, how it has affected them, who they were before we went into it and who they are when we've come out of it, me included. But it has affected us in a lot of different ways. But for me, I need a break between the shit storms. We were saying was it last year? We were like, we just want nothing major to happen this year, and then we'll be happy. Just normal life shit and nothing major. But I agree. I think we need pressure. We need a bit of stress. And people that live their lives avoiding it and trying to live in that comfortableness, it's not good for you. And for me, one thing I've realized recently is thanks to my therapist, I have been working to get my to-do list done. As my mindset was always getting my to-do list done. When I would finish something and get something off my plate and achieve something, it was always a sense of relief I've gotten, not of a sense of achievement, because it's just like my to-do list. I think the way I see time is quite different. My time is stacked. It's either needs to be done or it doesn't need to be done. So everything for me is stacked, not in a kind of linear way going out in front of me. I see everything to be done as now or not now. So I can sometimes get a bit crushed by the overwhelm of my to-do list. Even if I have 3 months to get something done, it's on my brain. It's an open tab until I can close it off. And then I feel relief once it's done. Even if it's a goal and something I want to achieve, that's how my brain sees things from a time perspective.
Would you like to come and do mine today?
Your to-do list? Oh, sick of to-do lists.
my today's to-do list is not nice. But anyway, it's good. It's a bit of pressure I've got on myself. And
as they say, pressure is for bra straps.
Oh, yeah. Brilliant. So next week we're going into 25. We've only got 4 weeks left of rules. This is a bit mad, but yeah. Let us know if you've got any questions. Let us know if you've got any comments. We'd love to know what you think about pressure and stress. And don't forget to comment, like, and share, and subscribe.
Yes, definitely subscribe.
Thanks, guys.
See you next week.
Music used for the opening and closing of this podcast is titled Pleasant Porridge by Kevin MacLeod. IncompeteTech.com. Licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0. www.creativecommons.org/licenses/by/4.0.